Hi, Michael. Listen, Michael, y'all cooked. Y'all cooked with Agatha all along. Wow. I mean, I have a million questions, but I'm going to try to whittle it down to a few. First of all, congratulations on an epic score on the show. I'm still singing it. I know all my friends are still singing it. So the question they all have, because they're like, oh my God, you're talking to him. You need to ask this question. How do you come up with something like that? Like, where does it start? Do you get the lyrics first? Do you get the, story first? Do you get the characters, meet the actors? How do you get to something like the score and the ballad?
I mean, I think, for us, we come in, towards the end, and, there's already, the amazing costumes and the set design, all the actors' performances, all of that is already there. And so it's really we're just stepping into this magical world, and we're like, oh, we gotta follow up. We gotta, really do it justice. And I think really speaks to Jack Schaefer and Mary Libanos and their creative vision for the show as a whole. And I think they're just did a really good job of leading the charge and empowering all these different artists to bring something else to the table. And I think Chris and I are just really thankful for that, and really, just trying to follow and support that vision, and just had so much fun, exploring that, and, really just have such fun characters, and, really getting to, lean into them, and really, play with them and support them on their journey throughout the show.
Amazing. So what would you say inspired you with that tune? Dun, dun. I'm not even doing it right, but, how do you get there? How do you get to something you're oh, people are going to hum that forever?
Well, I think, the Lopez's, wrote an amazing song. And so I think, that we are just, trying to take that and, sprinkle it throughout the show and, really, support that and, being such an important part of, the show's literally written around it. And I think, with the score, we're just trying to, keep it all connected musically and, connect the ballad to the song, to the, different character themes. And, also leaning into, how each episode kind of goes into a different genre and, really letting the music, really push into that and lean into it and, having fun with that. And I think that's, again, following all these other elements in the show, just kind of combining together to give you this experience.
Amazing. And I think another question people really have is, how do we get to do what you're doing? I get that a lot. If you meet them, please ask this question, because I think there's so many people who get so inspired, but after they watch this show, they're like, man, I'm still hearing the sounds. You hear a sound and you associate it with the show or a character, and then of course you're able to get something for Agatha and you get something different for another character that's, in the same show, and you're just how do they do that? How do they get that range? So if you could talk about what advice you would have for somebody who to pursue what you're doing.
I think a lot of learning is just trial and error, and I think just doing it over and over again with as many different people as you can, and for me, listening to just different types of music, watching different types of movies and shows, and I think just exposing yourself to all these different stories, and ultimately you're finding new ways to be a storyteller, and there's especially in the film industry, there's all these other people that are coming about it from their own unique way, and I think that's what's so cool and special about it, is that we each have something else we specialize in, or that we combine together in this magical art form that I still don't understand how movies get made. It's a miracle. Just there's so many people involved, and I think it's just doing it over and over again, starting from student films to writing music on my own to working on these bigger projects, and I think it all comes from the same place. So
that's amazing. I love that. That's so insightful. I love that. It's all about being yourself and bringing it into what you love, right? Yeah. That's awesome. So I'm gonna pick a character here, so I don't ask you about each of them. How did you come up with the score for Agatha? What did you tap into that you were like, we're gonna use this instrument for that because of her, this one thing?
Yeah, I think what's fun about Agatha is she's so layered, and she's fun, she's playful, she's also really mean. She's a villain, but we want to like her. And then she's also has this really tragic backstory, but it takes so long to really get there and understand it. And so her theme, we had to really capture all these different layers. And so I think that the fun part of that is, we have the playful quality, we have this hammered dulcimer, which is kind of a more witchy, folky instrument, to acknowledge that. But then when we're getting more heartbroken, we play our theme on this like broken piano, and that really just hits to the tragedy and her relationship with Nikki, and then I think sort of just transforming that throughout the show, and like, but then there's these moments, you know, in episode 9 when she like finally gets her purple back, and the orchestra is just like, it's just so grand and majestic, but still has this darkness to it, and so I think it's just really fun, like just like, you know, scoring characters that are just so nuanced, and especially Catherine Hahn's performance is just incredible. And so I think, you know, just seeing that and like just taking it and running with it. That's
amazing. I mean, when you do come up with the characters' background scores like this, do you also speak with the actor and do you get their input on it at all?
No, not on this.
No? Okay.
You know, I think occasionally depends on the projects, but you know, for stuff like, you know, they've done their work like probably like a year before we got on, so like they're already moving on to something else, and there might be, you know, the showrunner and the producers, like it's kind of their job to help sort of bridge those gaps and make sure, you know, the vision that worked for them now is, you know, being communicated to us and vice versa. And so, you know, sometimes, yeah, it just depends on the project.
It takes a village to make an amazing show like Agatha all along. Well, I'm so excited for whatever's next to come for you. So tell us if there's anything you can tell us about what's next, what we could expect.
Yeah, so hard pivot. I'm working on an indie feature about this real-life clown named Glurpo, who is an underwater clown in Texas, small Texas town.
Wow.
I'm still learning all about him. It's fascinating, really.
It's definitely different. I've never heard anything like that before, and it's exciting. I'm from Texas, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
From Dallas.
Dallas.
Really? No way.
Yes. Hey, there you go. Marvel lovers. Dallas, that's where they're born. I love it. Well, thank you so much for talking with us. We can't wait to see about this like underwater clown that you're working on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, for sure.